Hey everybody, this is the Canadian Wolf bringing you another Reddit story. This one comes from the ProRevenge subreddit and is titled, Roommate Didn't Know What Respect Was. Let's get to it, Pack. Brief backstory. I grew up in a small Tennessee college town, ended up leaving for 4 years for high school, came back for college. During middle and elementary school, I had a close friend who we'll call Bree. Bree was a very bright young girl, good supportive family, had her future pretty set up. I ended up falling out of contact quickly when I left the town, yet when I came back the summer before college to look for a place, I was staying with extended family who lived too far from the college to commute, we had bumped into each other at a fast food chain. Turns out her parents had divorced, and she went through a total I hate my parents phase. Her parents were probably some of the nicest people I knew, to be honest. That was evidently still ongoing, since she confided in me she was trying to move out. What a coincidence. We get back in contact, agree to house hunt together. She seemed the same, honestly, if not a little more opinionated. We eventually settled for an apartment. Good neighborhood, close by for me. I managed to snag a job, while her parents were sending her money for her rent and whatnot. I had plenty in my savings from working my butt off the second I turned 16, and a few good scholarships, so money wasn't a horrible worry for me. We signed the lease, everything is grand. Until the weekend. School didn't start for another 2 weeks, so it's not like I really needed the beauty sleep. However, it's still incredibly annoying to wake up finding your living room filled with random people, and the very heavy scent of weed in the air. In case you don't know, weed is illegal in Tennessee. I shrug it off. I'm not about to tell her how to live her life. She's probably just throwing a housewarming party with some of her newer friends. I'm not exactly the most social person, so when I went out, because I couldn't fall back asleep, I just sat on the couch looking blankly at the TV. The thing is, I have very good ears. Listening to the random conversation around me, I gathered many of these people were very into doing illegal actions. A lot of it centered around weed. There were 3 different kids with backpacks, which I would later learn were dealers. It was a weed fest. I'm not personally against weed. I've tried it a few times, and it just didn't really float my boat. Live and let live is my motto. The night went on as a normal party. A few beers, a load of blunts, the usual. I didn't partake and ended up going back to bed as soon as the noise died down enough. The week went by normally, had a brief conversation with Bree about the spontaneous party. Oh, just wanted to show my friends my new place. Yeah, right. The next weekend, same deal. Tons of people, tons of music, tons of weed. Now, I'm a little annoyed. But no trouble had come our way, so I wasn't going to throw a hissy fit. Just kidding. The trouble came the morning after. I went out to grab some snacks and got stopped by a guy. Hey, do you live in that apartment? He pointed to my apartment. Yes, I confirmed. Could you perhaps dial down the weed smell on the weekends? I mean, I get it. I smoke too, but the smell keeps traveled through the vents to my baby's room, he requested. Of course, I'll talk to my roommate. To make a long, annoying talk with her short, she didn't give a crap. The next weekend, she was smoking again. I spent the entire night in front of the vent in the living room, spraying it down with Febreze and some scentless spray a dealer gave me when he saw what I was doing. It didn't help. Sunday, he was at our front door, explaining to both myself and Bree that if we didn't dial it back, his wife would be calling the cops. She did, the next weekend. There were usually 20 to 30 people in the area for her parties. They weren't huge, but I've still never seen that many people duck behind furniture and dive into rooms as they did when the now all too familiar cop knock hit the door. Seriously, it took them half a second to scatter, and surprisingly quietly too. So, there was a cop at my door for a party I wasn't even involved in. What the hell? They ended up being pretty chill, saying, "We get it, just dial it down," and leaving. But that was just the beginning. They came 2 more times, each time with the same response. But on the 3rd visit, they ended up scanning our IDs. I do not need this ish on my record. They easily had probable cause. The attendees always left at least one piece out in the open, like idiots. I usually put up with a lot before I snap, and after countless pleading with Bree, she still refused to stop the partying. I decided I'd have to make them leave. The next party, the cops would no doubt surface. I managed to drag Bree out of the house to the grocery store, claiming I'd buy her snacks. Leaving her to choose, I left to the bathroom and made a rather nerve-wracking call. I knew if they showed up while we were gone, the attendees would have to open up the door since they were playing music so loudly. The police would know they were home. I kept Bree occupied as long as I could before she got a frantic call from one of her lovely friends. The cops were there. With no one in their right mind, the cops ended up opening the door to 8 stoned people. Bree immediately forced us to leave and go back home, and minutes after arriving, 3 of her friends were pulled away in handcuffs. Apparently, they had warrants. I was always listening to them while they partied. I'm surprised only 3 were taken. Sending everyone home, I slept like a baby. Nobody came over after that, since our house was officially a hotspot for cops, and it wasn't long until my friend wanted to move out. I ended up meeting a nice guy who was still looking for a place in college, and he eventually signed onto the lease to replace Bree. Looking back, this was honestly incredibly stupid, seeing as I could have been charged as well if they had searched the house, since I was on the lease. But seeing her friends, which I had slowly been growing a festering hate towards, get dragged away in handcuffs was incredibly satisfying. They did end up getting released a few days later after making some deal, so their lives weren't totally ruined. Haven't talked to Bree since, though. Okay, even I would have been okay with the first party as a housewarming, and that says a lot since I really don't like the smell of weed. But to keep doing it every single weekend and keeping it going after the neighbors started calling the cops is really asking for trouble. I personally think OP was way too nice to Bree by taking her out of there before making that phone call. I would have just left her there to deal with the consequences of her choice, since after numerous requests from OP and the neighbors, she kept doing it anyways. But in the end, OP got her apartment free of weed parties and can now enjoy it with the new roommate. Well everyone, thank you very much for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed this story. If so, make sure to hit that like button and go give the author an upvote on Reddit. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notifications so you know when my next video comes out. This is the Canadian Wolf saying, stay wild.